as someone who struggled with fertility issues in my 30s, I know firsthand how stressful, how challenging, and how emotional trying to get pregnant can be, which is why I am so excited that we're delving into this next topic.
Here to tell us everything we need to know about egg freezing, please welcome back to the show, Dr. Sheila Loyst. So good to see you, as always.
Oh, I'm so happy we're doing this topic. I say on the show, sometimes in a half-joking way, half-serious way, that when Marqueza hits a certain age, I don't know, 18 or 21 or 25, that my gift to her is going to be like, if you want, we will freeze your eggs.
Yeah.
And that way she can go on with life and she never has to worry about the health or age of her eggs. So for people who don't exactly know, like, what is egg freezing in the first place? Can you explain it?
Totally. So I'm so glad that we're talking about it because I went through fertility treatment as well. You know this as well. And unfortunately, our biology does dictate a little bit around our fertility, a lot, and our fertility decreases as we get older. So in terms of our egg quality and the number of eggs that we produce, especially after the age of 35. So egg freezing is a process similar to the beginning process of IVF, or in vitro fertilization, where we give you high doses of hormonal therapy, and then you stimulate the ovaries to produce many, many eggs instead of the one usual egg that we produce every month. And then we harvest them and we freeze them to be used at any time later on when you're ready to have your children. So it's a really great process that's now becoming more available. So this is why I'm happy to be here to chat about it.
So, I mean, I think it seems obvious why more and more women are opting for, but like, why for what they call social egg freezing?
So in the past, it was done for medical reasons. So we think about people who were going through cancer treatment and preparation for their treatment. They knew that if you're going through chemotherapy or radiation therapy, it would affect the quality of the eggs. So they were given the option of freezing their eggs before. It's also true for my transgender patients who, if they're going through transition and going on hormone therapy or surgical options for their transition, they would need egg freezing to preserve their fertility. And now it's actually being done for social reasons. So really more, whatever reason that you'd like to delay childbearing. So whatever you want. So career, travel, you haven't met the person that you want to start a family with. And so it's now considered a social reason for freezing. And it's an option that gives you reproductive choice now and for the future.
So is this something that you could just go to your regular doctor, or do you have to specifically work at a fertility clinic?
It's specifically with a fertility clinic. So you can be referred by your family doctor, but if you don't have a family doctor or you don't feel comfortable talking to your family doctor, because still many of us are not, you can refer yourself to a fertility clinic.
Okay, so like, let's talk about cost, because they're privately run. So my first thought is like, how expensive is this going to be? Is there anything that can be covered by insurance?
So that's a great question, and this is one of the hard things about talking about egg freezing, because it is out of reach for many because it is very expensive. So on average, the cost of a cycle of pulling the eggs, or like stimulating the ovaries and pulling the eggs, it costs about $8,000 to $10,000. That's today's cost. We also have to think about later costs of storing the eggs, which can cost about $500 a year. And then if you are going to use those eggs later on, it can cost several thousands of dollars as well to then use them later. So it is a big cost. Some insurance companies will cover the cost of medication, so it's always good to ask. And some companies are now starting to cover egg freezing for their employees, especially in the tech industry. So it's something to also ask to see if that's something that might be covered. But it's something that you need to budget for.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to talk about the impact of egg retrieval and freezing on the patient. So there is a physical component to this, and there's also a really big mental health component to this. So let's break those down.
For sure. So we're giving you high doses of hormones, and so any of us know when we have hormonal changes, it can really affect our physical and emotional health. So especially physically, what you can have, your ovaries are working very hard. You can feel bloated, uncomfortable. It can be a bit painful. And so the main thing I talk about with my patients is the mental health changes. So it can cause a lot of moodiness. It can cause irritability, sadness, cheerfulness. The challenge with fertility treatment is that you don't know what's going to work and what's not, so that can add another layer. So during the treatment phase, I always suggest, if you need to, take some time off, a couple of days to recover for the physical symptoms, but also surround yourself with nurturing forces of people and food and the things that bring you comfort, because it can be a challenge.
Absolutely. It's why, I mean, I can speak to the physical part of it. My moods were just wild, and weight gain for me was wild, and I was not pleasant to be around, and because I didn't feel very good as I was going through it. Okay, so if you're considering this, is there an age minimum or an age maximum that this procedure can be done?
Yeah, so we say, the earlier the better, but generally before the age of 35 is ideal, because after the age of 35 is when we really see decline in our fertility potential. We don't really think about this until we're about 35, though, often, so that's why we're talking about it now. So if you can do it earlier, you have a higher rate of success in getting more eggs and more higher quality eggs. The maximum age is about 38 that most clinics will offer. Some clinics will go higher, but generally 38 is the cutoff.
Got it. So those frozen eggs, you talked about storage issues. So how long do those frozen eggs last for? And how much does the process of even freezing and unfreezing eggs impact their quality?
These are great questions. So generally, it's indefinite that they can last for as long as you need. So we mentioned Marquise had 18. She could wait for many, many years to use them later on. But the quality of it, the quality of freezing has actually improved significantly over the last several years, but we don't see a decline in the egg quality with thawing and then use.
Which is science.
Yes, it's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
It's science.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about success rate or guarantees. Is anyone going to give you a guarantee that this is going to work at the unfreezing and let's try this phase?
Right. So if they're giving you a guarantee, then I would not go there, because there is no guarantee, unfortunately, which makes this process challenging. So as we know, in fertility, there are no guarantees of an outcome of a live birth, but we hope to optimize the situation. That's why, again, we say earlier the better. And also you can do testing early on to find out what's the fertility potential with blood work and ultrasounds to see what your chances of success are as well. So it really depends on the timing of when you froze your eggs, because that freezes the eggs in time, but then also the timing of when you choose to get pregnant also affects success. So again, that's one thing, around 38 to 40, ideally.
I only found out, because there's so many other tests that you can do before. I found all this out at 35, and I wish someone would have told me at least at 25.
Yeah.
All of these other tests and things that I could do
agree.
to see, where's my fertility at today? Where do we think this is going? Okay, finally, given egg freezing gives women options later in life, do you recommend this, or who do you recommend this for, I should say?
Just like you, I wish that I had this conversation earlier with my patients, and now I make it a point to have this conversation with all of my patients early on. So I recommend that you at least think about it, because it's something to think about in terms of what are your life goals, because then you have choice available to you. And at 35 or 36, you're not thinking about it, you're thinking about it earlier. And when we talk about it, you can go to a fertility clinic, you can do these tests if you need to, you can make those decisions in an informed way, because as we know, reproductive health care is under attack, and we have rights, and we should be able to talk about it, make the decisions that are right for you now. We can optimize your health now as well. If you can't afford it, I can talk to you about hormones, I can talk to you about supplements, I can talk to you about keeping a healthy lifestyle that will help your egg quality. But we need to start talking about it now so that you can make that decision for yourself now and for your future.
Oh my gosh, I just love this. Thank you so much for bringing us this valuable information.
Thank you for having me.
As Dr. Sheila said, reproductive care and rights are more important than ever, so that's why we have these segments for you. So we'll be right back. We'll take a very quick break.
Hey there, wasn't that great? Do you know where you can find some equally good content? Our YouTube page. It's filled with discussions, debates, and some laughs. Head there now, like and subscribe.